All right, Elon did it again. Brazil bans X for refusing to comply with Supreme Court orders. I mean, come on, Elon, whatever your name is, what are you doing? But all kidding aside, I do have a spicy take on that. Okay, I get it. Uh, Alexandre de Moraes, however you pronounce the name, I apologize. Yeah, you have with Elon, by why punish your people at $8,900 a pop if they get spotted using Twitter in their country? And so
That
to
part's
me,
crazy.
I'm like, what are you doing? First of all, how rich are your average Brazilians that they have $8,900 to, like, I'm just saying. But to me, this is the wild part. It's like you have an issue with a service. Okay, you're gonna deal with that. But how are your and you have the power to make it illegal, which is already okay, interesting. But then you go that extra step. Any people that just happen to be bystander using the app gets fined $8,900. That's, to me, is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, for the longest time, they told people you just build your own service if you don't like the way the current service operates. Elon went out and bought one, and now he's going to take his ball and go home. I don't think he's coming back to Brazil.
Yeah.
And there's one thing that I will also say that I don't blame him for doing. The reason he got banned is because he wouldn't create a legal representative in the country. The month before, he had pulled all of the employees for X out of the country because this guy was going to arrest somebody. And so, who's
crazy.
taking that job anyway? He's probably thinking, I can't hire anyone to take the bullet here. And so, I do think that he has the freedom to say, you know what, I really care about Brazil.
Yeah, he does, but then that's not what he did, though, is it? He didn't say, I'm pulling out of Brazil. No. He tried to basically break the law of Brazil, and then he got kicked out.
Well,
there is a big difference.
Yeah. Well, he could have complied with the order and said, I'm going to make a legal representative in the country. He said, no, I'm not doing that, because they were going to arrest that person for whatever they were. He deemed that some information that they wanted access to, he wasn't going to shut down those current accounts in Brazil because he thought there was freedom of speech. He's standing on the ground. Whether I don't know what's true, I don't know what the actual tweets were. And so I think that's what the argument's over. And then they kicked him out of the country, and he said, okay.
I think the thing is, so Brazil has whatever rules they have, right? Agree with them, disagree with them, doesn't matter. If you choose to do business there, you've got to work within those rules. He wants to, and Elon, being Elon, has his own set of rules, which he wants to use no matter where he is in the world. He just wants to use his own set of rules. And if they don't want to go for that, he'll just keep doing it anyway. And then he'll get fined. He'll get whatever. If he goes to Brazil, they would arrest him.
Yeah.
I'm sure of it.
Yeah. They arrested the Telegram guy in France the other day.
Right.
So, I don't know. So, part of me says, they did this with WhatsApp. So WhatsApp got banned in Israel, not Israel, but it banned in Brazil for one day, and the people went out in the streets and rioted over WhatsApp, and they put it back. And so, I guess no one cared that X was kicked out of Brazil because they didn't riot in the street. So
yeah, they don't. Well, here's what they did do. You see what they did do?
No,
they all moved to Blue Sky and Threads.
Well,
Blue Sky had 2 million signups in 2 days over the weekend.
That's good for Blue Sky.
They had it was over 1,000,000% or something more users in Brazil than they had before. It was through the roof. So Blue Sky is they couldn't barely handle the amount of new servers or the amount of new hardware they had to put into place to account for all these new people. 2 million in 2 days is crazy.
And I do agree with the fact that if your country has rules and somebody else doesn't want to follow them, you have the right to ban that service. But I don't see why punish the people of that service. And I get that's
I agree with that part too. It's just let it happen.
Yeah.
Threatening, because that's what it is. It becomes a threat, doesn't it? It's a threat of a punishment. I'm sure they'll play that out. Somebody's going to be unlucky, right? They said if you use a VPN and access it, because all they're doing is the way the country's banning it is they're making all the ISPs basically say you can't publish this site, right? You can't show this site to anybody. So people obviously are I'll just use a VPN and go around it. So then they said, well, if you're going to do that, we're going to fine you $8,900. That's the punishment. With the exception of, by the way, guess which ISP isn't stopping it?
Starlink.
But of course, he's just tacking on his fines at this point.
He's just not going to pay him.
He's not going to pay them in Brazil. Well, he might not pay them, but what's going to happen eventually is he's going to shoot himself in the foot. because he's going to have to go to Brazil or something at some point.
Oh, no, forget it.
Somebody's going to have to go to Brazil or something, or something's going to have to happen.
I may not be a lawyer, but I know for sure
he
should never step his foot in Brazil.
He shouldn't.
Ever,
but you know he's but he's not that guy.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
God.
He's the guy who I guarantee you thinks he probably can show up there.
All right. If we watch the news at some point in the future and it's like Elon gets arrested in Brazil, oh my God.
Then let it happen.
It was a black bag job, is what it was.
Oh my goodness.
We saw that. Maybe. We saw that movie in Batman where he went and got the guy out of China.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, all of a sudden Elon shows up from Brazil. Like, what's he doing there? Like, that's weird.
He just showed up on the street. So,
oh my goodness.
I do think there is a healthy pushback on some of the government overreach. So I do think Europe overreaches on a lot of these tech companies. I'm not saying that the tech companies do everything right either. And there's some kind of middle ground that we've got to get to. But like a lot of times the regulation, because really as I understand it, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kevin, I could be wrong about this because I haven't read everything about it. The tweets were about the election that this guy's involved in. And he didn't like the opposing views of some of these people that were saying it. Now, was it misinformation? Was it lies? I have no idea. But he wanted those taken down. And I think that's where Elon's saying, okay, I believe in free speech, but free speech.
But again, it doesn't matter what Elon. I know exactly. It doesn't matter what Elon believes.
His beliefs. So he just said, "I don't care. I just won't. If you can't do that, then we just won't be over there." He took his ball and went home.
Completely.
Well, he didn't. They grabbed his ball and they kicked it out of the park, and he ran after it.
But let me say this:
either way, he's not coming back.
Being devil's advocate, and thank God nobody rioted because Twitter left Brazil. But if it was,
we shouldn't riot over Twitter leaving from anywhere.
But I'm just gonna say, how many people voted on that decision versus one person made it? And to me, I think that's a scary part where you have.
So here's the thing: there was a follow up, though. I did see this today. There was a follow up. It got pushed to the Brazilian Supreme Court, who upheld the decision. So while one guy made the decision, their Supreme Court down there did also uphold it. So it's more than one person at this point.
5,
I guess.
And
but again, it's like whatever rules they have, they have.
No, it
is what it is. Just choose to live with them or not.
Yeah, making jokes. I think I'm basically at the camp where we have a rule, or it could be I have a rule. You don't like it, you don't get to do business with us. That's basically, and to me, that's the freedom of speech. It's like, hey, we have our rules, you have your rules. If we don't agree, we don't have to work together. It doesn't matter what it is. At the end of the, that's how it should be, right?
And that's always what we've said about the EU, right? We feel like the EU are always going too far in having too many rules and too many hoops you have to jump through. And eventually companies will say, I'm not going to do business there. I think this is slightly different. I don't understand the, I didn't read all of the tweets they were talking about, but basically Brazil is trying to crack down on online misinformation. Yeah. That's part of this. So they're saying, well, these guys, whatever their tweets are, we class this misinformation, therefore we want off the platform. And he just refused to do it in the name of free speech.
Yeah, but it is insane because with AI and even some of the stuff like for instance, I don't care how political people are because I'm just whatever. I'm a very simple person. Do my cats have food? Okay, then my life is good. So I don't get involved in those discussions. But the fact that even Elon posted a fake video about Kamala doing the speech, and I was like, that is the sign of here's how misinformation gets propagated. And to me, that confirms this big fear of mine is that every social network at some point is going to have these embedded, it's already happening, misinformation of, whoever, and we won't be able to tell the difference. How do you navigate
100%.
Any social network that has ability to have posts like that? And where does it take us? For me, for instance, I just don't trust anything on social as things
and I think that's the new that's the new I think that's the new attitude, and that's the new way that a lot of people now think about social media. There was a point back in kind of 2020 and before where social media kind of peaked, and it was it was harmful because people there was stuff on there and it was it just got spread around as being truth. I think these days almost everything you see on it you question. I think a lot more people now question it. They're I don't buy that. You have your own kind of judgment on it. And it's everything that you read, you're is it real? Is it fake? Does it matter? I have a better judgment of it. And people just dismiss it more than they ever have. And I think that's the attitude. I know I certainly feel that way now more than ever.
I dismiss everything.
It's just like I have to go to some third parties if I see something and be like, oh, let me go read about that. I know now not just to trust the headline on social media. And I think a lot more people are going that way now than they ever have.
And I hope so.
And it's not having the same effect it's had in the past.
I'm the same way with you, Kevin. I look at something and I'm like, oh, that's outlandish. And it doesn't matter if it's right or left leaning. No,
it doesn't matter.
And if I'm like, if it's important to me, then I'll go find a source to say, is that true or whatever? Because someone will say, here's what I'll do. Someone will give me this, hey, did you hear about this? And immediately I'll go to my news site and see, is that a headline? It's not a headline. I'm like,
right.
It's not true. Like, how do you know that? How do you know it's not true? I'm like, well, these guys would report on that, I think there was a rumor that Joe Biden was dead one weekend. I mean, and someone came in and said, have you heard Joe Biden died?
It wasn't on the TV.
Yeah. It's not on
Where'd you read that? Let me guess. Facebook.
President.
Yeah. What's crazy is that even though like me, I'm the same way with you. Like, I'm like, everything is BS, especially at this point. But sometimes like they get you. And then because of like, you wanted to believe that this thing is like real. So I'll give you one example.
Sure. There is like confirmation bias.
Yeah. And to me, it's funny because even I, who's like, oh no, I'm just going to treat everything as BS. So, there's Who's Got Talent show. I forgot where it was. They had like this skit where the dude like puts on like a horse head and he's a horse, but he's not because it's just like a joke. But somebody used AI to make him transform into an actual horse. And like an idiot, I saw that and I was blown away because I thought, why would Who's Got Talent lie? That's why would they do that? And then I was like, okay, anybody could take a clip from anyone and doctor it to be whatever you want. And to me, like that was so crazy because there's certain sources that I feel like they wouldn't lie. But the fact what social media AI thing allows you for anybody, you, me, my grandma, take any footage and make it whatever it is, originally not supposed to be, make it different, like whatever. And and there's no real check, you know what I mean? And so to me, like, it's going to be impossible.
It's always the best fakes are like 90% true, right?
Exactly.
Like you say, if you took 90% of the Who's Got Talent show and you had 10% of fake, the whole thing therefore must be true, right? So you're selling on that little like extra bit that you've put in there.
Yes.
And it could even be as simple as like replacing one line that somebody said or something. That's where it gets kind of scary, right? We could take let's say that we take a Donald Trump rally convention speech, right? And we take it and we make it 99% what he said, and then we change one line in there, right? I guarantee you most people will believe that entire 100% thing happened.